Good to see you. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm very delighted to be here with you to conduct exchanges with you. This topic should be delivered by Wang Ma, but due to very tight schedule, he could not make his appearance here. So I will be delivering the topic to you on behalf of him, and I'd like to brief you the report about the status quo and the future change. Just now, Minister Li has mentioned that Chinese forestry industry, its general idea and its general picture. And also, he talked about the policy of the industry. In the past 10 years, Chinese forestry has undergone great changes. We have successfully dealt with the shock of economic crisis, and we have established our status as the very strong exporter and producer of forestry. And our scale of production has accelerated for rosin, for flooring, and for some wood products. And we are on the top list. Next, the restructuring. In restructuring, we are entering a new phase. From 2005, we focused on the first industry, the primary industry. In 2010, we focused on the second industry, and also our quality of the industry has improved. And also there are some industrial clusters appearing. At the same time, the collective economic ownership has emerged. Now the quantity of this kind has accounted for 70% of the general total. For the non-public sector, the economic biomass has accounted for 50%. So our industry is quite dynamic, arousing the worldwide attention. Forestization and also the casualization has become the major change in the future development. This picture can show you the tendency of this industry. Last year, our output has surpassed 2 trillion yuan. So, with an increase, a yearly increase of 30%. In the recent 5 years, the average increase has accounted for more than 20%. For imports, import has increased drastically. Imports has increased by 40%. Export has increased by 34%. For the products, the imports of the forest products has accounted for 30% of the general trade volume. Nine provinces, their trade volume has accounted for quite a lot. For example, in Guangdong has accounted for 100 million yuan. So China has become a very important status to manufacture and to process wood products, and this is the consumption volume, excluding the common material to be used by the general public. We could see for the green one is our domestically made and produced one. For another color, we are importing from the overseas countries. It seems that we have to import 30% of our needs from the world market. And also this has account for 1/3. I mean, this is the raw log. For the importers, the first is Russia, 55%. The second is New Zealand.
This is the saw timber import status in China in the recent 10 years. Let's look at the recent 2 years. The imported saw timber is on a steep rise. Based on the current status of the reduction of the import of the log in different countries, the log import, the saw timber import in China is on a steep rise. But 40% are the hard timber products, and the number one import country is still Russia, accounting for more than 40%, which is followed by Canada. For China's timber processing in the past 10 years, it has been quite stable. However, the fastest growing is represented by the green part, green curve, that is the artificial board. Let's look at the current status of the artificial board production. In our country, by the end of last year, we have about 11,600 companies registered with China's authorities, and the annual turnover is about 400 billion RMB, and the sales turnover is also quite significant. So in terms of the production and consumption, etc., our country is ranking number one worldwide. Last year, for the artificial board production in our country, we have reached 150 million cubic meters, and this year, and we have achieved the growth of about 37%. However, I think that perhaps this data is not very reliable or precise. For the proportion of the artificial board products in our country, and from this board, we can see that the plywood is the main proportion, and also the particle board is accounting for about 8%, and also some other products are accounting for about 17%. For China's artificial board, and we are still largely depending on the international import. The direct export is accounting for the 10% of the overall production, and about 30% of the products are the finished products made from those timber materials. Therefore, for the artificial board, our dependence on the international export is about 40%. So worldwide, China's artificial board, starting from year 2005, when the production was accounting for about 25% worldwide. Now it has been enhanced to 47% worldwide. For the plywood, it is accounting for 66% worldwide. And also for the MDF production, it is accounting for 59% worldwide. For the particle board, it's only accounting for about 13.8% internationally. For the application area of those artificial boards, about 55% of the application is in the furniture. Then for the remaining applications, it is accounting for about 45%. Let's look at the furniture in our country. As we know, the furniture is developing very fast in the recent years. China's furniture, we have about 80,000 companies producing furniture. Last year, the output was approaching to 900 billion US RMB, accounting for 30% of the international total. In the first half of this year, the timber furniture from January to August, and we have manufactured about 150 million pieces, representing about 10% growth year on year. The furniture export, it is accounting for about 1/3 of international trade total. For the timber furnitures, we exported about 300 million last year, and from in the first half of this year, and we have exported about 132 million pieces. The total volume is about 77.4 billion US dollars. Now I'm going to introduce the floor industry. China's timber floor got off to a late start. Last year, the total production was 497 million square meters, ranking number 1. And from January to June this year, and we have achieved about 11% of the growth. And this figure represents the floor production or development in the last 10 years. This is the floor export in China. For the timber floor export, for the first half of this year, we suffered from the pressure from the America. Therefore, we were undermined by the pressure from America. And also the timber door is also developing vigorously, and we have more than 10,000 manufacturers for the timber doors, and many just SMEs. For the timber door production in the past 10 years, it also gained the great momentum. The annual growth is more than 20%. This is the timber door export. Apart from the faster development of the timber door, and China's forest chemistry is also taking shape. And we have 4 types of the forest chemistry production, that is resin and carbon and the paper pulp production. We have more than 110 different types. Last year, the rosin products production was more than 130, more than 1.3 million tons. We have 800 rosin manufacturers. The major production areas are located in Guangxi area and its surrounding areas. However, for the deep processing rosin manufacturers, they are mainly located in Guangxi and the neighboring places or regions. The pulp paper integration is the major principle for the development of the paper development. Since last year, our production has surpassed the mark of 90 million tons. And last year, the growth was more than 10%. And for the pulp production, it is mainly located in the southwest parts of China. And this figure represents the forest production, export and import in China. The blue represents import, the red part represents export. You can see that for the import, mainly we import the lamellar and the log, saw timber and the waste paper and the paper products, and the pulp, palm tree, etc. Mainly we import resources. For the import, the number 1 trading area are located in the Asian countries. For the timber import, about 30% of the import comes from Asian countries. Let's look at the red part, that is the plywood, saw timber, and also some paper products, about 90% of timber furniture. For the finished products export, we mainly export our products to USA, ranking number 1, followed by European Union, then Japan. That is the export destination countries. In terms of the market analysis, worldwide, China's household consumption is on the rise. In international markets, China's timber products are quite popular, accounting for the more proportion internationally. According to our forecast, domestic real estate development and indoor decoration demands are on the rise. Annually, our demand exceeded 120 million cubic meters. Therefore, according to our analysis, based on the national policy in the next 3 to 5 years, the domestic timber demand and consumption is going to be quite vigorous, and also we have the promising the market prospects. Let's look at the first half year economic status, and this figure represents the artificial board and also downstream products growth in the first half of this year. Because of the macroeconomic adjustment, real estate has been crashed. The commercial housing development speed is slowing down, only reaching about 12.9% for the timber furniture and the timber floor, etc. The development is also slowing down and actually tapping on the brake, and it has been dropped to about 11%. However, as far as the upstream industries are concerned, the artificial board in the past several years, because the development is quite fast, the production capacity has been released. Therefore, the growth rate hovers at about 30%. In the first half of this year, the artificial board sales is quite hot, and the demand is quite high. However, society-wise, in terms of the consumption, we are seeing the quite high consumption. Last month, the top four, for example, the jewelry and automobile, furniture, etc., those are all related to artificial board. And this year, the growth rate is about 18.5%. At the same time, China's urbanization construction is also picking up steam, and we still have a long conduit for the rising. Up to 2030, the urbanization ratio is going to reach 60%. That is still way behind the 78% of urbanization in the developed countries. Therefore, it is fair to say that in the past 20 years, in the next 20 years, the artificial board processing is still going to be on a faster track. We have 2 more minutes. Sorry. So in terms of the rural markets, we are also seeing the great potential for the farmers. In the past several years, the average income is on the constant rise. In terms of the international demand, it is also recovering. For the North American housing real estate, it is on the recovery from the year 2010. And also for the furniture development, worldwide, the ratio is about 6.6% worldwide for the furniture growth. In the future, the forest production is going to pick up a great momentum in the future, and also for the industrial integration, it is also constantly being enhanced. And we see several attributes. Firstly, the overall trend is going to be very good. Then we're going to maintain about 12% of annual growth, roughly, and also international demand is going to be on the constant rise. And third one is that for some key industries, we still see the great leeway for the development in the future. The fourth one is that the policy change is going to bring about more commercial opportunities. More investors are going to invest in this area. The fifth one is that we have explored. We have basically blazed a new trail regarding the policy that is combining the market adjustment and government policy. So in the future, we must constantly push our way towards innovation. We also have to adjust the industrial structure. We must strive to develop the low-carbon industry. We also have to notice the green barriers set up by international countries. We also have to. I'm going to tell you that the area that has passed the certification has exceeded certain mark, and also we have about 2,000 enterprises that have passed the certification internationally, and we are trying to elect the standards later on, and perhaps the next year and the next year, and we are going to elect this policy, and we are going to reach we are going to achieve the greatest success in terms of the turnover of the forest production. According to our national policy, we are going to provide great support to the development of the 10 pilot industries. In terms of the macro economy, this is quite beneficial to the development of SMEs. In terms of the forest production, however, currently we come across the difficulty, that is the lack of supply of a timber product. Regardless of the international environment change and also the domestic change, industrial upgrade is pressing. The low carbon development and sustainable development are the perennial principles for our development of the forest production, and low carbon sustainable development are going to be a trend for our forest production. Next 10 years, we are going to make the shift from small to large, and we are going to achieve even greater success. Thank you.